Hello everybody, welcome to this week's video log. I said I'd always go somewhere that's really fresh and exhilarating or show you where I've been out and about. So I have just been in there. So I managed to get down a safe little spot here that you can't see. But yeah, absolutely safe, nice little platform to get in, and I feel really fresh, really alive. And before I came up here today, I actually felt really exhausted, really drained. But yeah, it makes you feel alive and fresh. I was going to do the whole episode here, but it's raining, it's cold. I've just been in ice cold water, so I'm going to get changed, go to the van, and then carry on from in there. See you all in a bit. Hi. Today I wanted to go into my background, my career, why I've done what I've done up to now, and talk about the future a little bit, but that's probably going to be the whole point of me talking about this. But whenever you're doing something, and I've learned this a long time ago, it's really important that everybody knows why you're doing it. And a little bit of the cathartic process of this is talking it through with myself, to really make sure that I am doing what I think I should be doing. And as I go through that journey, you'll see whether it's working out or not. I don't plan to make a load of mistakes and fail and keep failing until I do something that I love. But I've already made a pretty expensive couple of mistakes so far, so it's likely I'm going to do something else wrong, but hopefully each iteration gets me closer to where I'm going to be. I've read so many books this last 2-3 years from all sorts of topics, but generally they're all about helping your mental health, but not in a mental health kind of, or I'm not in a good space kind of way, but in a if you want to be better, how do you do it? You know, what's holding you back? How do you break your limits? How do you set free? And I've loved all that self-growth, self-help kind of stuff, and it's led to a lot of exciting things that I've done over the last few years. I can't remember which book it was. I think it might have been The Millionaire Mindset by Harv T. Eker, or T. Harv Eker, something like that. Anyway, he talks about your money blueprint, and how everybody's got a money blueprint, and like how you are, how your partner is, or how your mum and dad were, or whatever your situation growing up was. You kind of learn, and that builds who you are and why you're the way you are. And I've talked about it with some close friends as well, and I look at them and their careers and their lifestyles, and then I look at their dad, and they've kind of just followed in their footsteps, even though they declare they're not the same and they don't really look up to their dad. I have seen it, and it is quite shocking how similar they are. So what was my money blueprint, or what was my blueprint anyway growing up? I don't know whether it's right to say the career that I'm in first and what I do, but I suppose they're the same, so it doesn't really make a difference. So my dad always said to me, son, you need to have a big job in a big firm so you can get a nice big house and get a big car and provide for your family. So very, very stereotypical, 2.4 children, you know, go to school, go to college, go to university, get a good job, get a good pension, work, retire, die. Now, my dad didn't ask me to do anything, but my dad didn't imprint that blueprint onto me on purpose. He did it out of safety, security, and I tell you what, when I look at my dad and his life, it's absolutely fabulous, and he's so happy, and it's given him an incredible life, and he loved what he did, and you know, there's no negative stuff to that, and everything that he said he wanted for me, he's got. And it's made him and my mum very happy, and they've had some amazing adventures. And if I'm half as happy as my dad when I'm his age, if I make it to his age, then yeah, I'll be very happy with that. So this blueprint of, you know, big job, big car, big pension, I've kind of done it, and I am very, very, very unfulfilled inside, and it hurts really. And I don't think I realised any of this until I was so deep into it. I've got a phone call. I wanted to take that call because I'm renting my house, and I wanted to make sure that if anybody, you know, I don't want to miss a call. I want to get on with it and not delay the process. So that was it. So I was talking about my career and what took me to where I am now and why I feel unfulfilled now. So it was never a bad career. I went to college, had some amazing times, ended up with some cool trips. I went to America with college and did some cool stuff there, visiting different campuses in America. I went to university, had an absolutely blast, met some of the best friends. In fact, we had our 20-year anniversary of meeting each other the other weekend, so that was absolutely incredible. University was just so much fun. I mean, I literally became a split personality though. My friends called me Mark, and then they called me Berry. So Mark was like really swatting up, studying. You know, I remember I used to keep my door locked until 10 o'clock at night. And then at 10 o'clock at night, they'd come banging on the door and be like, let Berry out, let Berry out. And then I'd come out and get drunk and like have a great time. And so, yeah, I did the studying and I did the partying, and I did them in pretty much equal measure. I probably went a bit crazy at some points, and lots of amazing, depending on which way you look at it, stories. But yeah, I've had a ball at university. I also did a year in laser research, doing cancer research at Rutherford Appleton Laboratories, and that's where I learned I do not want to be a research scientist. It is incredibly dull and boring, and not for me. Well, it's not boring for those people doing it because they love it, but for me it was not suitable. And then I was applying for jobs and ended up applying for National Grid, and got onto their graduate scheme. I don't know how I did it because I forgot to actually press submit on the application form a week before I was going on holiday. I didn't have a job, I'd finished university, and then all of a sudden some guy rang me and said, can you just press enter on your CV online? And then I pressed enter, then they rang me, then they said come for an interview. I did an interview, then I did an assessment centre, then I got the job, and then I got on the graduate scheme. And then I had some great experiences on the graduate scheme and ended up graduating and finishing. Most likely to be CEO was the award I won at the end of the graduate scheme. So yeah, quite an amazing career up to then. And then I've done various jobs, but all of them linked to that kind of career. And I ended up in an operational environment. So I've done lots of jobs in operations, and that is really the start of how I became who I am today. And I would say I've spent 15 years in operations, and every year or 2 years I've changed jobs, got promotion, moved sideways, and constantly kind of grown. But my target, I always wanted to be the head of operations, like in charge of it all. That was always my ambition. I think it's because my dad always said he ran a power station, so I always wanted to run a whole network, and I achieved that probably 3 or 4 years ago now. Timescales and job titles and all those things kind of get blurred, but I'd say it was probably 2 years before COVID I was doing it, and then 2 years after COVID, and the last year I've kind of been changing stuff. So yeah, I'll go into that again in the future. But so yeah, a very serious blueprint, get a good job, and I did it. And I reached the top of that job and I felt unfulfilled. So great pension, better than most people I know. I have a lovely big home, great. And then, but yeah, that's all work, isn't it? And what had happened is I had ended up in a couple of relationships that, you know, we weren't suited for each other. So we realised, and COVID was the breakup part of that. Another COVID victim, as you could say, but I'm starting to see, well, over the last year I've seen really, it was a freedom for both of us. We weren't suited to be together. So actually COVID opened our eyes and allowed us to move on. I wanted families and kids, a family and kids and all sorts of different things. And she didn't want the things that I wanted. And, you know, it was very clear that we were becoming different people. So she got set free in a way, and I got set free in a way. And yeah, we've both moved on. So then so that blueprint has always been in me, and I felt unfulfilled. And then I look back at other relationships and what got me to that point of feeling the way I did. And I look at things that I've achieved and I wonder why. And I've done some neurolinguistic programming with a guy called Rod Harlow. I'll put a link down there somewhere. They always do that, don't they? Something like that. I'll probably never get around to doing it, but yeah, he's cool, and I will tag him somehow. And I started looking at why I've done things, and all these books, and I've been reading or listening to, and you all end up questioning why you're doing something. And I look back, I did loads of different triathlons, and then I ended up doing an Ironman, and it was after I had a car crash, which I had brain damage for, and my partner supported me brilliantly through the car crash, and then I was trying to train for an Ironman, and she supported me brilliantly through that as well. But on reflection now, I look back at all of those things and I just think, why did I want to do something that took 20 hours of training every day? And then when I finished the Ironman, I was like really sad, really down. They call it the Ironman blues. And I didn't really know what to do. So then I started smashing other things and not smashing physically, but like doing other triathlons. And I was always doing stuff. And one of my friends back then said to me, Mark, what are you running away from? And I was like, no, you just don't understand. I'm trying to achieve things. And now I look back and I just think, well, hang on, I was always working, or I was always training. So why was I always working? Because I needed a bigger job, I needed a bigger salary, I needed a bigger house, I needed a bigger car, I needed all these bigger things, because that was built into my subconscious. You need to succeed in your career. And then outside of work, what was I doing? I was always running. I was always outside trying to do something else. And I was never at home. And I think that worked, really. We both felt like we had a partner, but we never really spent much time together. I mean, before we finished, we ended up having 2 front rooms. She sat in there and I sat in there. We even had 2 separate bedrooms. She slept in there and I slept in there. And there was always a logical reason as to why. You snore, or you fidget too much, or I don't like that program and you don't like that program, and whatever it was. But ultimately, we were never together. So, anyway, hindsight is a wonderful thing. But the whole point of this is to tell you that backstory. Anyway, I after we did the breakup thing, I was obviously very sad. I was depressed. I wouldn't have normally admitted that years back, but yeah, I was very depressed. And I think I had a bit of a breaking point. And I remember my manager telling me, don't come back to work until you've gone on to antidepressants. And very dark times for me. My dog got me through most of that. And then I started doing meditations, and I was doing guided meditations. This was recommended by my boss. She was such an incredible help throughout that time. And she said, do these guided meditations and get these antidepressants. Now, there was no way I was going on antidepressants, because I've seen what it does to people. I really, I know they work for certain people, but I've also seen the damage they do to others. So I really wanted to stay away from them. So I started doing guided meditations. In the past, I'd done some Wim Hof to try and experiment with that, and ice baths to experiment with that. Anyway, so I took it a lot more serious now. And I started doing guided meditations, breath work every day. I gave up alcohol. I gave up coffee for a short period. I started with the alcohol again as well, but in a controlled manner. And so I healed myself through that hard time with meditation, guided meditation, breath work, cold water therapy every day. I joined clubs and I went to the Lake District and swimming in iced water. So it was incredible. And I stopped running away. I stopped exercising to the point of breaking myself, and I just stopped. I think my boss called it Pause, and she recommended a book as well. So I started reading a book called Pause. I don't finish many books that I physically read. Anyway, but the point was pause, stop, and if you've had a crisis or a breakdown, there's probably a reason for that. So I had the reset, ended up healing my body, healing my mind, and started to feel good about myself again. Then I started dating, and that's another episode or another day, but my God, the world of internet dating is not a good place to be. I don't understand how it's still going when it's so toxic, but then again, Facebook and Instagram and all those things are still going. And although they add lots of value to the world, they also take a lot from people. So but internet dating for me, big, massive no-no. I do know people who've got married from it and are really, really happy and they met their soulmates. So I shouldn't be saying that really, because every yin has a yang and every person sees things differently. But in fact, let me carry on and then I'll tell you. So, and then I ended up with a girl, and I went on holiday, not with her, but with some friends, and I realized I didn't think about that girl once whilst I was on holiday, and then I felt kind of bad that I was just using her for whatever. And then I just kind of had this moment where I was like, right, stop chasing all these daft things online and just be happy with yourself. And then I went back to the meditation, back to the breath work, back to the cold water, and I really did feel happy in myself. And and I think that's probably why those internet apps weren't working, probably because I wasn't happy, and the girls I was meeting were probably not the right kind of people that I'm interested in. And then I went on holiday again. Again, there's a whole other story as to why I went on that holiday, and I'll probably get to that in another day. But I went on holiday and I met a girl, and she changed my life. One look is all it took. And yeah, from that moment she smiled at me and I smiled back at her. Things have never been the same. So I needed to figure a way of getting to be with this girl because she lives in Austria. My name's Karina. I'm probably going to talk about her a fair bit because I'm obsessed in a good way. And yeah, so I met this girl and she's Austrian and I was desperate to get over to Austria and be with her. But I couldn't do that being in an operational role and having a team of whatever 400 people under me. It just doesn't work. You can't be there for your team if you're in a different country. So on hindsight, I manifested myself out of that job. I made myself quite sick as I couldn't achieve the targets that were being set. I did everything that was needed. I did improve things, and since I've left doing that role, actually things didn't get better. They are better now, but things didn't really get better for a long time. And the suggestions that I was making that I kind of got shot down at and told that they were rubbish, they're actually being implemented now, which is quite ironic. And the stuff is getting better. But I manifested myself out of that job by telling everybody that I didn't want to do it anymore and I couldn't do it. I think I was generally just bored because I'd done it for 3 years. I'd seen the cycle too many times and I needed to move on. And then I was going to leave the company, but they offered me another job, which really, really met my, it floated my boat and got me really interested. And that was doing a project and I love it. And it's making things better for the company and for the industry. So yeah, absolutely love that. But again, it's not who I am. And I've realized that now, but it's given me a time to go to Austria. They've given me flexibility to be able to work from home and from abroad on occasion when required. And yeah, so really appreciate that. And it's allowed me an extra year, which is what it's been now, to build that relationship with my partner, Karina. We've got engaged, we're going to get married. And yeah, I've really, really learned a lot about myself this year. And I'm probably going to talk a lot more about that. So yeah, I think that's enough for today. That's my career up until now, but it's all of the career in the professional Mark Berry environment. So I'm going to end here, and then I'm going to come back to it another day and talk about the things I've been trying in the background now, which I've probably failed at, or learnt from, not failed, I've learnt from. And then, yeah, and then we'll go from there. I'm very excited. I really enjoy getting this out of my brain. I don't know how it sounds, but we'll find out if people ever actually comment or say anything. So so yeah, so far it's just for me. Let's see how far it goes and let's see what else is said. And yeah, I think I wanted to say what I was going to do in the future. I said it last time, I'm going to say it again, because the more I say it, the more it's going to, I'm imprinting it now. So I'm doing all of this. My plan is to be a travel agent and sell package holidays to people, ideally skiing and snowboarding and mountaineering and mountain biking. And because of what I've just said about how I've healed myself, and every time I'm in a bad place, I end up going back to the meditation, the breathing, the cold water, all those things. So I want to guide people on the mountains physically, mentally and spiritually. And that's what I'm going to go and do in Austria. And everything I do is building my plan towards doing that. And it's super exciting. See you later. So me and Darren have just been into the water, set a fire and got cold, and now we're heating up by the fire and it is fabulous. Talk about becoming free on a Sunday night, not a care in the world, fire, cold water, meditation, and it's absolutely fabulous. And you feel free when you can just scream at the top of your voice. Ah! It's Ace. Don't know where he is, he's back there somewhere. Yeah, how Ace.